Good evening, everyone. Welcome to episode number 99 of Restitching the Tapestry.
99. That's from Reboot, by the way.
Do we know anything that's happened in 1999, Ari? Or because that's been our
Y2K,
little thing.
Y2K.
Oh my god.
We're all
fun story about Y2K. My sister said, let's get a goat because the servers are gonna fail. Everything's gonna erupt into chaos. We need to get a goat. My parents are like, we're not getting a goat just because you saw it on Jerry Springer. We're only gonna get extra bottled water just in case.
Oh my god, Jared, what was Y2K like for you?
Well, how old was I? 19. It was pretty uneventful, I think, actually. Because by the time, I know, a lot of people were worried about, what's going to go wrong. And then I was pretty relaxed about the whole thing. I wasn't thinking anything big was gonna happen. So I don't know. I probably should have been more eventful, but my most interesting thing about Y2K, I think, was a few years ago when it hit me that when I talked about Y2K to my students, they they weren't around, and so I'm like, oh my god, I'm talking about ancient history at this point.
I literally had that conversation with my class a couple of weeks ago.
Let me blow off the dust from the computers.
Right.
Yeah, I mentioned it to my students and they were just like, what? Is this that weird thing that my parents went through? What? And then I was like, oh my god, your parents? What? Oh my goodness. So, well, welcome everyone. It's great to see you. We are one episode away from 100 episodes. So that's really exciting. So we wanted to do at least one more poetry hour, to wrap up the year, let's just say. And we have the wonderful, phenomenal Jared Morningstar with us, who is our poetry hour regular. Yay! Unfortunately, Heather won't be able to make it tonight, but I told Heather that if she wants to pop in, if she's available, she's more than welcome to. So, I'm being optimistic. So,
shout out to Heather wherever you are. If you're watching the land, I love you.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. Heather, somewhere out there in the ether, can probably hear this. Okay, so before we get started with our poetry night, I do, of course, per the usual, want to go over our show's mission statement, okay? We live in a dynamic society where social media shapes us by creating greater opportunities for connection. It has led to a developing understanding of the adversity many marginalized communities face, the powers causing the adversity, and those who act as bystanders as atrocities take place in real time. Our goal with this show is to make connections and have challenging conversations about social topics, current events, pop culture, and art. Together, let's weave the threads of understanding with what privilege we have in order to learn, educate, and create in a world that's growing. So let's see who we got in the chat tonight. We have Arby here joining us. It's good to see you. David Sperling is here partying with us like it's 1999. Lagiakris is here. Hello, my friend. And David Sperling is pleasantly surprised that we are having a poetry evening. Yes, we are. Oh my goodness. I think all three of us have learned to appreciate poetry for a whole variety of different reasons, but obviously I think we've all used poetry not only to process things happening in our own lives, but also to create commentary on things happening in the world around us, right? So that probably will crop up periodically this evening with some of the work that we are going to be introducing to one another. So let's share. Have we shared how we've been doing and what we've been up to? I don't think we have yet. What have I been? Have I just been yammering this whole time? I have. Jared, how have you been doing? What have you been up to?
I have been doing well, staying busy. We just completed our first marking period at the high school where I teach, so that's been fun, but also kind of chaotic. But I've also been doing, starting to do the some holiday prep work. But also I've been writing a lot more than I've written in a over like a 30-day span ever. I don't think I've ever written this much in such a short period of time. So I'm very, very excited about that.
Good. I'm glad that you've been very creatively productive lately. That's exciting to hear. Ari, how have you been and what have you been up to?
Everything. I have been streaming like mad lately. I have been streaming on my mornings, my afternoon. So like I do like my morning daily like journalings and when workouts on my Strange Nothings channel. I've been streaming free tarot readings on my TikToks. I have been doing videos. So I do just a lot of video stuff. I have been doing homework for my master's degree. I've been writing erotic fiction, just because I have fun, and I've been working on my NaNoWriMo. I don't know, just a lot of projects. I've been painting. I've been writing poetry. I've been updating my website, which I'm reading poems from my website tonight, ariwhipple.com. So if you want to check that out, definitely do that. So yeah, just a lot of stuff. I think I need to update the podcast that we do on Spotify. I think that's on the list too. I don't know. Just a lot of stuff.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Ooh, what happened to my voice? Did my voice just crack? Ooh. Anyway, so yeah, just to let everybody know, you can find Restitching the Tapestry on different streaming services, including Spotify. So definitely go check us out. If you enjoy just listening to podcasts, you can listen to prior episodes that we've done so far. So
only on 2 streaming services right now. I think we're only on Stitcher, and I think we're on Spotify, and I think that's that.
Still,
but
both
don't
awesome.
quote me on that. I think you can find it Google. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and P.S. everyone, tonight there is a little bit of a lag, I think, between us. There is some sort of like server issues going on with StreamYard. So if there is a lag and you hear us like delayed or maybe distorted it sometimes, that's why. It's not any of us. So it wouldn't be, it's basically the Y2K, it feels like, with, our tech issues. So that was terrible. Anyway, so oh my goodness, I'm just excited to get started. So, Jared, since you are our honored guest this evening, would you like to be the first person to perform a poem?
Sure. I can do that. So this poem is one that I have never read out loud to anybody, not even to my wife. And I almost always read that stuff aloud to her first. Not for any specific reason. I just haven't, for whatever reason, I just didn't do this one. But those folks who know me and know my interests know that I am a big fan of rootsy and all of the Americana from Chicago to Los Angeles. I have not written about it, but this piece is the closest I've ever come to writing about it. It's a piece in voice and character, and it's Lost in America. Excuse me, are you lost? Need a room? You look like you aren't from here, deer in the headlights, like someone who stumbled upon hellfire while looking for heaven's safe, open arms. I understand. Surely the rusty gold out front is off-putting, and the neon's no good. It hasn't welcomed people in years. But the beds are soft, and if you find any stains on the floor, know they are as old as the carpet. Truth is, we're good people here. As good as the coffee at the town diner is hot. COVID and population loss couldn't close its doors. It's a survivor for now, and there isn't a Starbucks around for miles. Good thing, too, their nasty sludge has no heart. Oh, I am sorry if you like that place. I am sure it comforts you, like how a baby sleeps better in his own crib. We like safety too, the kind that comes from home, a home that is just ours. Just like the park down the street, the kids still have fun. They don't care if the paint is chipped on the merry-go-round. Like the local grocery store with ancient floors that we can't seem to get clean. Like the library, yes, we still read here, where we can check out books about animals, the American dream, about a time when our main street wasn't a graveyard, abandoned storefronts and shells of motor courts, the bars and churches we got, but not much else since folks like you stopped visiting. Nope, all we have is the diner, rusty amusements, high-priced produce, and history books. But most of all, each other. We live together and will die together, but at least we know who we are. So why don't you stay for a while, even if just for a night? No, we don't have McDonald's, Walmart, and no, this place isn't the Hilton or even a Super 8. But we have our souls, and until this town finally dies, that's enough. Besides, you can feel safe in those places anytime. You can find them anywhere in America, off any exit ramp, where a city looks like everywhere else, where your individuality is lost as you look right now in your own country that you didn't even know existed.
Whew. So, one, that was a phenomenal piece. Two, I think one thing that I've really enjoyed about your work in the past, of course, is the fact that you often write about like this kind of like the decay and decline of like hometown rural America, right? But what makes this piece different is the fact that you kind of like there's kind of like a glimmer of hope in it that I found very interesting. Like hometown rural America are like island oases in like this expanse of commercialism, industrialization, like nerding out, like really nerding out. Uh
Good, I'm glad.
So it's no secret that I am a David Lynch fan, and so a lot of your work kind of likens me to David Lynch stuff because you talk about diners, you talk about this like nostalgia 1950s Americana, and that like likens a lot of to like David Lynch stuff. It's like this nostalgia, like Americana, old style type stuff, but it's also like juxtaposed with industrialization and the like again that decay that you often see in stuff like David Lynch work. So it just hits all the buttons for me personally because I just often think of the two it just brings me to David Lynch work because it pushes all those buttons in my brain of like, yeah, this is very Lynchian to me because this lights all the lights for me in my brain. But it just I like it for reasons, and it's those reasons specifically because it does all things that I like, and that's why I like your work, Jared.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I know that sometimes my pieces, this is my aesthetic too. But like, I know that some of my pieces get kind of sad and hopeless at times. But I think the one thing that I wanted to exhibit here is, in spite of all of the loss of individuality and the corporate takeover of America, that in this town, in this motel, they still have fight. They know that things are bleak, but they're still fighting and they're not ready to give up for the right reasons. We're not talking about toxic traditions. I think we're talking about small town, the wholesome side of small town life here. And and this character and these characters, the fight is there, and I think that's what I wanted to portray.
I think it was portrayed
Yeah.
so unbelievably well. I do want to say hi to Shin Garzilla Plays and Brian. It's good to see both of you. Welcome. So, who would like to go next?
I think you should go next, Donny, because you have a book out.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Okay, so not to do any shameless self-promotion, because I never do that. But my latest little chapbook of poems, Casting Seeds, just came out. I'm really happy with how it visually turned out. Like, I absolutely kind of enjoy like the coloring. And
Can we
this
just
is my
brag for a
aunt.
second and talk about how it's done? Can we just talk for a second, just like to brag to like how it's been doing really well on Amazon?
I think we should.
Yeah, it has been okay. So it has been doing very well on Amazon, and I was not expecting it because it's a chapbook. I wasn't expecting it to like slay anything, but apparently it's been doing pretty well. So I'm really grateful for that. I don't know if it's because like maybe it's palatable like visually, who knows, but like I'm really happy. And it's just to share like a small little factoid, this person on front is my Aunt Joyce. I managed to like I didn't beg her, but I asked if she would like kind of like model a grandmotherly figure on the for the book, and she was just like, heck yeah, because the book is inspired by my grandma Winter, who was her mother, so like it kind of works. And a lot of the family constantly tell my aunt like, oh, the older you get, the more you look like grandma, like all the time. So so that's kind of like the reasoning behind that. The book is, Brian asks, how much is the book? It's about it's $10.99 on Amazon, if memory serves me correctly. Yeah. So since we're on the topic of the decline of rural America, which is a topic I also love writing about, there's a poem in here I wrote. Okay, rant session. I don't like fireworks anymore. I don't. Like, I remember when I was a kid, fireworks were like so phenomenal. Like, it was just like our tradition, obsessed, right? And now, like, I'm just like, this just seems like a showy display that really doesn't do anything. Like, yeah, like I think we should celebrate like the spirit of things, but also in the grand scheme of things, like with all the like political upset that's been happening, the atrocities that have been happening over the past few years, like it feels kind of hollow to enjoy fireworks. So
Hard disagree. Love fireworks. Love fireworks.
I mean, so I love fireworks, but maybe the association for me is what kind of like fizzles out. Not to use a terrible firework pun, but hey.
Yeah, I'm in between the two of you. I don't mind a really nice city display of fireworks. What gets me are like the people who stockpile their own arsenal to fire off in their backyard. The safety issues, just the general machismo attitude about it. I can't.
If you're shooting off fireworks 2 weeks after the 4th of July, I am mad. Like I go 0 to 1,000 angry so easily. Okay. So this poem is titled Once Innocent Fireworks. We remember well the long, tired afternoons when the sun would sink westward behind thunderheads and the night veiled overhead. We play in the field until the lightning bugs came, signaling it's time. Kaleidoscopes of color, spiderweb above the moon. Now joy has gone gray and we sit at home alone while parades go by, while fireworks peak above trees far from where we are yonder. Now we quake in light of the hollowness of cracks, the thunder sadness. Now these colors have gone gray and the stars are too dim to see. Now, as smoke screens whirl, these once innocent fireworks have lost their spirit to me. Oh, super depressing, right?
Yay.
Thank you.
I love it.
Thank you.
I do as well. I think that
That's the first poem I've heard from them. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, you're okay, Ari. You go first. I'll follow up.
No, you first. You first.
Okay. Okay, I can do that. I think that I mean the meaning, the theme, all that stuff comes through here really well, and I really enjoy it. Maybe I'm biased because I agree with it, but I think that the some of the standout images to me is when you go from that beautiful imagery at the beginning, the natural imagery with the spider webs and the stuff that you enjoyed as a child, and then you talked about when the shift starts to happen and things get more negative. That image of the fireworks above the trees. That's what stood out to me. Like that image signifies the shift that's happening here about halfway through, and then the rest of it just carries through. And I really enjoyed the message and the imagery, and it was a really, really nice piece.
Thank you. Thank you.
I was going to say that this is the first piece that I've heard of yours from this, but I think that's a lie. I think that I've actually heard several video pieces from you about this, but you
I
usually
think so.
read me in person several, like usually you'll like read to me pieces from it before you publish it. And I don't think you did this with this book because it was so quick. Like you wrote it and then published it very quickly. And you usually or do it like in a slower process. I was just like, so I just it is sort of like just it's been kind of like a whirlwind book for you, I think. So it's just sort of like it just happened, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it
but,
did. Well, like it kind of happened over the
love,
summer.
But
I love magical projects
I
like
think
that. Just
but like compared to your other books, I think that this one was a lot quicker than the other ones in my perception. So I didn't quite. I'm not as attached to the poetry of this one as I am the other ones, but I think that's more magical because I'm kind of discovering these poems as you're reading them, and falling in love with your work. And because it's like I'm seeing this evolution of your writing.
Oh, you're kind of breaking up at the end there. You broke. You said like
I think
there's
I
an
froze.
evolution. Oh, I think Ari.
oh no!
Oh no! Did we lose Ari? Oh no!
Oh no!
Well, we'll wait a moment and see
Yeah.
if Ari unfreezes.
Yes.
Like, there's just. Oh, Ari, are you there? Can you hear us? Possibly.
It keeps spinning like it's having trouble. It seems like I'm having trouble.
Can you hear us now? You seemed to have cleared up a little bit.
I can hear you. I can hear you now. So it's basically like I was seeing that the evolution of your writing and seeing this new side of your writing, and it was very interesting to see the way that you've evolved again, and it was very fascinating. It's very fascinating to see your writing, because I've kind of seen you since your first book, but like even since college, like just the way that your writing has evolved it's just been a very interesting journey so far.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, you would remember all the way back to that time because, oh, back in college, I was writing being like, oh, that emo boy hates me, but my love bleeds out onto the floor like a glass of red wine, like just the most dramatic emo stuff possible. I don't know if you remember those poems, Ari, but I think we should have
Yeah.
one of these nights we should have like an old like horrible poetry night where we read old poems.
Oh my goodness. I feel like my poems back in 2020 were pretty horrible because it was like trauma poetry that I was writing. Like I feel like Full Now is just trauma poetry, and it's like it's not very good compared to the stuff that I'm writing now. Like I look back at it and I'm like, oh, that was not very good stuff that I was writing.
I do think that you have I do think that your poetry has definitely evolved over the past year or two. Like it's like, and I think it's because you're also exploring, you're exploring many of the similar things that you've talked about before, but I think that you have found new ways to explore them also.
I agree with that completely.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So without further ado, Ari, would you like to perform a poem?
Ooh. I'm gonna perform a poem called Warfare None the Richer, and I did this for October. It's on my website. I did an audio clip of it so you can listen to it as well if you want to hear my voice again. So here we go. I cut my hair because war can get fucked. I show my body because men can get fucked. I don't care anymore. I'm aligned to 40, and that means the world has discarded me. I haven't produced babies or a masterpiece. I have no legacy, so I am on the trash heap. Just forget me not, I ask meekly. That's all the little voices that rise up in climate change, that get shot down in violence. There's nothing fair, class warfare. Just pay a living wage. But the truth is, they barely want you to, or the truth is, you to barely live at all.
Whew. Another day, another sleigh. Oh my gosh, Ari, that was stunning. Because that poem kind of hits you like a battering ram right at first. I love it because I'm not used to you swearing in your poems, but when I do hear it, I'm just like, yes, yes. But I do think that that poem creates a very powerful commentary on how I feel like commercialism kind of forces artists into kind of expecting that we should be these assembly lines of productivity. And then we're continually kind of set up to fail by this assembly line of productivity, right? Because then people are like, oh, well, art isn't going to make you money. Writing's not going to make you money. So it's like this cruel cycle, right? Even though the art that we do produce is a fortification and demonstration of our existence. Does that make sense?
Right.
I see. I obviously at the forefront and on the surface, I thought about the commentary on war and warmongering and all of that hawk mentality. But I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I felt like I heard some commentary on different kind of wars as well. Some of the stuff reminded me or made me think about oppression towards women, oppression towards different or lower social classes, impoverished groups as well. And I think that that's what I liked about this is it's a multifaceted discussion on different kinds of wars across the spectrum. And I thought that was really cool. The fact that you could take this idea of I don't know, just war against in many ways in society against various things. I thought it was really excellent, and obviously, as Donny pointed out, the attitude and the anger is well placed using language. Excellent,
Yeah.
wonderful. I loved it.
Mm. Jared, are you ready for your next piece?
I am. So this piece is another new one. It's one that discusses part of. I don't know. I feel like every time I tell people that I don't care for Halloween, it surprises people. I've never really been a fan of Halloween. I was done with Halloween, I think, by the age of 10. And I never really thought about why. But I did when I wrote this poem, and it just kind of came out. And I don't know if this is exactly what it is, but if it's not, it makes sense why it could be. The poem is called "Why I Don't Care for Halloween." I was done trick-or-treating by the age of 10. I decided I'd rather stay home and pass out candy to other kids who found liberty in dressing up as others, adopting a different identity. And it used to bother me. I couldn't understand why it just wasn't fun for me, why I just couldn't enjoy playing pretend like everyone else. Perhaps it's because I was tired of wearing masks, tired of faking a love for the hair metal that my classmates listened to instead of expressing my love for La Bamba and 50s guitar licks. I certainly didn't want to be seen as out of date, out of style. Sick of thinking that being smart wasn't cool, that putting thumbtacks on teachers' chairs was a better way to spend time in class, and losing recess just for working ahead only reinforced those thoughts. Exhausted from trying to contain my excitement around my peers because I couldn't stand the laughter that came with a clumsy fall, when I couldn't keep still or an awkward exclamation, when I just couldn't or just didn't have the right words to express myself. I remember one year when I decided to remain silent in school for months, to be a little ghost haunting my own little corner of the room, trying to stay invisible, knowing even a meek little boo would bring attention that I no longer wanted. True freedom didn't come until I let my voice be heard again, and not the one others wanted me to project. Disguises did nothing for me. I was tired of hiding behind a pair of dark rimmed glasses like a chubby little Clark Kent, expected to be mild mannered, to dress the part society deemed appropriate. I am glad for the smiles that Halloween brings to faces around the world, but I'm done painting mine. I've had enough of that to last a lifetime. So this year and every year, on October 31st, I'll be Jared Morningstar, and I guarantee no costume has ever made anyone happier.
Ooh, wow. Wow, that's a lot to unpack. Yeah, that's a lot to unpack. So
I can
it's
definitely
interesting.
relate to the ghost imagery.
How so? Oh no, you're good. You're-
Just because you go first.
No, I was just gonna say you go because there's a lag, so you go first.
I'm sorry. I don't know what the problem is. It's just that we keep each other, and I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Um so it's just that the ghost imagery is interesting because uh
I relate to that because in high school, especially, there's just a lot of moments when it seems like the silence was like something that was just kind of expected of you, that you were just like, you were seen and not heard of as a child, that was just like expected that you just kind of perform your daily tasks, and that you just sort of exist, and that you just weren't allowed to, or that I just wasn't allowed to express myself as a child, that it was like that I just sort of had to go about, existing, but I wasn't allowed to be like free to be myself. And that if I expressed myself in certain ways, it was sort of like kind of thrown down on, and that being any certain way, it was met with a lot of harsh criticism, and that if I was weird or in certain ways, that it was met with sometimes harsh punishment, and that it took a long time for me to be allowed to be expressive. I sort of had to fight for that, and even when I got it, I had to still function within certain parameters, that I was only allowed to express myself within certain, that it was only acceptable in certain ways, and that I had to, and then it took me a long time to unlearn that I escaped my childhood, still maintain that childhood curiosity and that ability to be not that way, and have that creativity still. It was really hard. It was really hard to hold on to that. I understand that how you feel about that, so I just related to that quite a bit.
Yeah, I also resonated with that too, because like I think what a lot of people don't realize is those of us who spent so long trying to already be someone else, when we get to a point where we feel like we can be ourselves, it almost feels like this otherworldly experience, right? And I thought that it was interesting because like I've gotten to a point in my life now where I'm like, I'm kind of okay with celebrating Halloween because I've found this place where I can shift into being someone else and I'm comfortable with it. And it's not maybe necessarily triggering for me anymore. But like, it's interesting that so many people can just so easily be someone else and not suffer any of those repercussions because they've always had that foundation of security with being who they are already. I don't know if that makes sense, but that really resonated me. I cannot speak. That really resonated with me.
Similar experiences for different reasons. I think that I don't know if I really became completely comfortable with who I am. Sadly, maybe even until my late 20s, but I definitely wasn't there in high school. I definitely wasn't there, and certainly not in middle school and elementary school. The majority of what's in there is accurate, and actually was true. It's this is one of a few poems I've written lately that are really personal. And I feel like that's not something I did a whole lot of before outside of like my relationships with my wife and children. But I find myself doing a lot more of it, and I'm not sure why, but it makes me feel good to get some of that stuff out. And I'm glad it resonates with others because it is so personal to me.
Well, and I think this also and we've frequently this evening have talked about how each of our, poetry has grown, where like all of our poetry has grown. And I think that's the new area in which you're growing into as well. Like, I think you've developed a confidence where you are more comfortable talking about your history, your inner workings, than you used to be. And I think that's a phenomenal direction for sure.
Thank you.
Val, are you ready to hear another depressing poem, everyone? Okay, so So all of the poems I'm reading tonight are from Casting Seeds, but I had an interesting conversation with my therapist, and that kind of inspired this poem. I had a conversation with my therapist where I internally felt like I was crying, but I physically could not cry. Like I physically could not do it. So we like unpacked like Donnie, why are you unable to cry? Like why do you cry like so rarely and infrequently? And it's because like I have like a history of being shamed for crying or being publicly humiliated for crying. So I decided to write a poem. It's titled On Being Ashamed to Cry. And it's organized into 6 sections. So these are like short sections, just 5 lines each, and I have them labeled based on what time in my life this was taking place. So here it is. On Being Ashamed to Cry. Elementary school. Boys don't cry, they'd say, as I hid behind the truck whose hitch I had hit, as I pedaled my tractor faster than I could control. Middle school. Man up, they'd holler, placed on display in the gym as the boys outran me, uncoordinated and discombobulated. High school. You're such a faggot, echoed through the locker room as the boys stood still and laughed when I'd look away, timid without any clothes. College. You're too sensitive, ricocheted within these ribs on a failing date, because my thoughts of romance weren't what real men wanted. Graduate school. You're too much, they'd say, after I failed an exam, then went home to cry into my broken futon behind safe studio walls. Postgraduate. You fight way too hard, they say, as I strain to hide lips that still quiver, eyes that still swell, cheeks that flush at the thought of them seeing. And that's it. Sorry.
It's interesting to me. I mean, the whole piece is pretty self-explanatory. I know that this is a topic that you care a great deal about and that you write about a bit. But what I haven't seen is the evolution of your personal dealings with it in this sense, the way you take us through different periods and how just the horrible toxic nature of those comments directed towards you are still hurtful and punishing at various stages. And I think that something else that it shows is that I don't know, and I know that it's just your personal experiences in writing about it, but I think it shows that when we try to think about progress that we've made in our lifetimes, the fact that you're still here, you still heard this at so many different stages, comments that were similar in thematic nature. That makes me sad, but I think that that's part of the point.
Yeah.
To show that we have not, we if we've grown any at all, we have a hell of a long way to go.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful poem.
Thank you.
It makes my soul ache because I've been told I was too much too, and that makes me want to cry. But like I actually cry, and that makes me cry because you didn't cry, and I cry because you don't cry, and I want to cry for you, and just, I hate
Let's
it.
cry
I hate
together.
it, and I love it, and I love you.
I
Can
love
we cry?
you too.
Can I help you cry? Can that be okay?
I have cement in my tear ducts. I don't know why.
I'm trying to be funny, but like I'm also like being serious.
Well, no, like when you think about these different situations, like retrospectively, like they are kind of funny. Like the first one, I literally like slammed into the back of a vehicle and I understandably cried. And I had people being like, don't cry. Like really? Like, I'm a child. Like, I'm going to cry over hurting
Right.
myself.
Right.
But the one that really, I honestly, what I did not expect, and because this poem was actually a surprisingly difficult poem for me to write, but the most difficult part was the high school one, like the locker room one. And I've thought
Yeah,
about doing a
that
a
seems like I've heard
video.
a lot.
Yeah, I thought about doing a video about this because and I think that the experience is unique for young women, young men, young non-binary and trans people, because like in the locker room we are forced or expected to literally be nude around each other, and there's so
Oh, I
much
didn't shower at
shame.
all.
It's so
No,
archaic.
no,
It's so awful.
Yeah, right.
It's
Like
awful.
definitely
it's
didn't
so
ever shower.
humiliating.
Yeah. Especially for folks who already feel vulnerable anyway, and now we're going to strip any sort of protection you have away.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's always bothered me, even before I knew why it bothered me.
Yeah. I still struggle to this day to like if I go swimming, like I struggle like when it comes to like taking off my clothes. It took me forever to feel comfortable wearing a tank top. And now I feel like I can wear a tank top and I'm fine, but like I still like rarely will go to the beach and like be shirtless or anything because I just don't feel comfortable doing that. And I think that the locker room experience has definitely contributed to a lot of the body dysmorphia that I still experience to this day. So, Ari, do you want to read your next poem?
Sure. Ooh, that's a hard one to follow, though. But sure, here we go. This one's called Spilled Sunshine. In the beach of the mind, I washed ashore. You swept up the bits and winked at me. What a habit broken in so many symphonies. I lost my way only to find my way back again. You swept up the bits and winked at me. It's only spilled milk this time, am I right? I lost way only to find my way back again. Recursion snaps like an arc, the sun shines down. It's only spilled milk this time, am I right? What a habit broken in so many symphonies. Recursion snaps like an arc, the sun shines down. In the beach of the mind, I washed ashore.
Ooh. 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 So sorry.
It's a warm one.
No, I just felt like this entire poem took place on like the mental plane. Like I just imagine like a mental plane. And how like and Ari, like being that we both have been diagnosed with bipolar disorder, like I think that, and especially thinking about your experiences over the past few years, like I think a lot of people around you have tried to like minimize and to damage control like your understanding of what's happened to you, right? Kind of just like being like, oh, that was nothing, kind of a thing. And I think that it's interesting the way
I think
people
that most
react to
people
mental
don't
health.
understand what has happened to me.
Well, yeah, that's true. Well, do you want to share like your like the context and inspiration behind this? Because I think that would
I
really help for the audience in understanding the metaphors too. There were some really amazing metaphors in there.
uh, so it's a little I wrote this for October. So there's a little bit of when I wrote it, I was thinking a lot about like Inception at the time. I was also thinking of like Alice in Wonderland, which both of those ideas kind of come into it. I had just recently watched the movie Don't Worry, Darling. If you had seen that movie, which does have kind of like Inception type
kind of connotations to it. I don't want to spoil the movie for you. So if you like, there's kind of interesting concepts to that movie. So it's just there, and for like my delusions, there's talk about like, you know, I have moments of like recursion. So like, and there's also certain things in my life, like the golden braid, which talks about recursion. That's another concept that I often play with in my life, like things just happening over and over again, which talks about my bipolar episodes, which happen over and over again, which is like recursion. So that's just a concept that I often play with, because it's like, my episodes just happen over and over and over again, especially like it just happens around the same time every year at the same time. And I don't know why it is. Maybe it's just trauma response, but, you know, but I often play with that concept of it just always seems to happen again. And it's like, I just often think about those things. So it does have to play with my bipolar, and it is kind of like a mental plane. And it is kind of like an Alice in Wonderland type thing. But it's very interesting. It's like, why does this always seem to happen? Like, why does this always seem to happen? And it's like, it's just spilled milk. It's just spilled milk.
Yeah.
So I'm glad in a way that I'm not privy to a lot of the things that you were talking about. Like I've seen Alice in Wonderland. It's been several years, but as far as like some of the other film references, the film influences that you brought up, and also more details about your personal background that I wasn't aware of. Coming from that in that angle, I might not have understood everything that you were working with, but one thing that was clear to me when you were reading, it felt like there were at least two perspectives here, and it felt like there was a conflict within those perspectives, like there was a back and forth, and it kind of felt muddied. And I not in a bad way, but it was just kind of like the back and forth and like what's real, what's fantasy, what is in the abstract, and I really like this piece in that sense. Artistically, a great deal. I think that I would struggle to write something like this. I think it's a really ambitious piece. Not just thematically, but again, just artistically, structurally, the way that you develop this, the narrative within the piece, and I admire it a great deal. I enjoyed this a lot, but knowing now what I know, I want to go back and read it for an even greater understanding.
Sure.
Wonderful, great poem.
Phenomenal. So I think we have time for at least one more poem per each. Jared.
Okay, so I just wrote this today.
Oh.
So this is very, very much hot off the press. And even like within the last half hour before we came on, I was going back and forth about different things I wanted to do with it. We did a Halloween poem before. This one goes towards the Christmas element. This piece was inspired by the classic Rudolph cartoon film. It's called Rise of the Misfit Toys. And I lead with a quote from the film. Rudolph, I promise, as soon as the storm lets up, I'll find homes for all those misfit toys. Santa Claus. And then here comes the response. With all due respect, Mr. Claus, we're not waving a white flag. Upon further consideration, we're not sure we want you to find homes for us. We've all heard the same stories from talking snowmen, tinsel prospectors, dentist elves, and red-nosed reindeer, that we deserve to be unwrapped by excited, happy children, those who made the nice list. It sounds amazing and all, but we have to ask, what exactly does nice mean to you? See, Because last we checked, you've served billions and billions of satisfied kids, like some sort of flying McDonald's, including little tykes who'd kick and scream if they didn't receive a good enough laptop, a pair of Air Jordans in a hot new colorway, or if they found a poodle wearing a red bow under the tree instead of a pony. The same little darlings who'd throw a tantrum if you brought them a bird that swims instead of flies, a cowboy that rides an ostrich, a boat that can't stay afloat, a water pistol that shoots jelly, a train with a square-wheeled caboose, even a spotted elephant. Let's get real, Nick. If they don't appreciate what they're lucky to receive, why would they be happy to find a bunch of unwanted toys on Christmas morning? Please, spare us a future that none of us want. The last thing we need is to be forced away from the island where at least we have each other, only to be sent to homes where we'll be demeaned, tossed aside, thrown away like Happy Meal prizes just because we don't fit in. If you really want to help, you'll send us to our own kind, those who are ignored, ostracized by society because their families can't afford Power Wheels, the newest PlayStation, even wrapping paper that doesn't tear with the slightest fold. Or children who are written off by the privileged because their parents live in the wrong part of town. Kids who feel lonely at school because everyone else there scoffs at those who look differently, worship differently, love differently, and anyone else who does not fit the mold. We know what it's like to be disregarded, discarded, but don't be mistaken, sir. We know who we are, and we know our worth, to ourselves and to those who need us, so they too will no longer feel alone. Naughty or nice, they'll accept us, and we'll help them learn how to embrace their identities just as we have. We're not nitwits. We're the misfits, different from the rest, and we wave that flag proudly.
Snap, snap, snap. Oh my God. Oh, Jared. I love that you are annihilating holidays. I am here for it. It's a sleigh. Another day, another sleigh, Jared. So, like, I love that you equated the misfits to like all of these different, you know, marginalized groups and metaphorically connected like their struggle to belong overall. And because like everybody always kind of like speaks to the marginalized as though they themselves don't know who they are or don't know where they belong. Like they know what they deserve. They know what they belong or where they belong, right? So like why talk down to them? Why act like, you know, you have the authority to place them wherever you think is acceptable without even their perspective? So like
You nailed it. That's exactly what I was going for. And that's coming from someone who loves Christmas a great deal. But I had to speak up for the misfit toys and other groups who they're metaphorically connected to.
Yeah.
I just want to say we're not nitwits, we're misfits, and that's okay.
Right. That's right.
That's gonna be like a hashtag.
Damn
now.
it, we're not nitwits. We're actually really smart. We're not nitwits.
And there are a lot of Easter eggs from the special in there too, like whether it's the songs or the actual toys themselves. Like anytime I try to write about a creative project that already exists, I try to drop in Easter eggs from those projects in there and so on. Thanks for noticing that.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Oh, Ryan's here. Ryan says, "Can I have your autograph?"
I think we can swing that.
Right. Okay, my last one. Let's see. I think I should pick an uplifting one. I'm going to do the last poem of my book, and it's actually the title poem of the book, too. So, Ryan says, all of you. Oh, thank you. Yay. So this is the poem. I don't know why I'm shimmying awkwardly. This is the poem, Casting Seeds. All these years later, I stand above the tree line, tall enough to see the spin of constellations above this whirling planet. There is memory beneath this bark, in these roots, old enough to see, yet young enough to wonder splendor into existence. Seasons bear no threat. Storms cannot weather these leaves because I've survived being lifted from a sandbox, ran over by a mower. All these years later, I'm casting seeds like she did. I sustain memory through the woods beneath my limbs as it does for me, yet still. We thrive together in this delicate biome, symbiotic strong.
Unity, symbiosis, togetherness, rising together and staying strong together. What a wonderful way to close the collection. Great. I mean, I don't know. I just love this stuff anyway. Like these things are right up my alley. I love the strength and togetherness, the strength in numbers, rising up together instead of being divided. I mean, you're right in my wheelhouse with this. It's just wonderful, and I can't wait. My book arrives tomorrow, and so I'm looking forward to adding this to my shelf.
Yay.
Donny, I love you and I love your collection and I'm waiting for it.
Ari, I love you too. You're wonderful. I appreciate you.
I'm sorry.
I'm obsessed with the little mic close-ups. So okay, and I don't think this spoils the book necessarily, but so my grandma died a long time ago, like way back in 2003, and she was such an important person in my life, and ever since then, like my family still owns the property, the house, and I felt disconnected because I never really would, like, I had gone into the house like one time, and I finally went in and just walked through the house and just like walked the property and just like felt the presence. And that's kind of like the togetherness that I am feeling at the end of the book too, like this togetherness that like my grandma's still here with me even though I don't physically see her, you know. But I also like Jared, you were saying, like I wanted it to be a narrative about, or to a message about unity, and how even though we may not be physically around one another, like we still sustain each other. Like
Absolutely.
like in a forest, for example, we may not see the roots, but they're there. We don't see like the mycelium from mushrooms, but they're there, you know, connecting everything underneath that soil. So all right, now I'm nerding out and being annoyingly biology oriented, so
You're never annoying.
oh, thank you Ari, would you like to finish off our evening with one final poem?
This is a very saucy poem. It's a very saucy poem.
Okay, we've not had that tonight.
It's called Babes in Toyland. Here we go. Are you ready? Okay, here we go. This is very saucy. It's a very saucy poem. Desperately and coyly, there's a pace and meter to ha 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 laughter beyond, and the air in my lungs keeps pressing, and it breaks like a shopping bag instead of compressing like a bagpipe. There's words that won't word when you whisper in my messenger chat.
Have you any notion of how it heals me to hear you say goodnight as I drift off to Toyland? I wonder what your Christmas dreams will bring for me. Lift the foot and you'll find me, says Jesus. Lift the face and you'll see me. Lift the phone and call me. But alas, I am a ghost, and smile as I disappear into the nightshade. Give it to me slowly as I play the song again. The tension builds. What dream is this? The tension again, it builds. The breath in the singer, the blood it builds. I sing out my praises in glorious affection. Ah, yes, this is my dream I had for so long. I have this song in repeat in my head. What a most wonderful time of year.
Oh my God. One, Ari, I have never heard you perform this way, and that was probably one of like the best performances I've ever heard. That was phenomenal. Like I felt like I was experiencing the elation at the end of the poem by just listening to it. Just saying. Just saying. Jared.
You know what's fun about that too? Is like it's general enough that you can insert multiple kinds of elation into the back end of this piece. Like I know what I was thinking, and it might be completely different than what you were thinking or what Donny was thinking, but the feeling that we all got, I think, was the same. And I do think that your performance definitely aided to that. As it often, as you know, people when they write performance-oriented pieces, it often does. But the performance wouldn't have been as powerful if the words weren't great. And so that was a whole lot of fun for me. And I don't know, like I thought I was in the holiday spirit before, but I think I'm even more in the holiday spirit now. And so I am a happy guy right now. Thank you.
Yeah, Ari, that got me in the holiday spirit too.
I told you it might give people different ideas of elation.
Ari, I need you to do like a live performance video for your YouTube to just that one poem. Like,
I have the audio of it on my webpage. You can listen to the audio of it whenever you feel like.
I'm kind of obsessed with this poem, not gonna lie. Well, my friends, this was fun. This has been really fun. I always feel this way whenever we do readings together. And it's just a nice diversion to get away from the world for a little while, just to share some of these pieces. So, well, do we have any parting words for the evening?
I just wanted to thank you both. I always have fun coming on here and reading for everything that you just said, Donny. But I don't know. This is the kind of thing that, in spite of all of the bad news and the ugliness out there, it reminds me that there are other like-minded people out there who appreciate art and humanity and all of these things that those folks like us know that this world needs more of. And so thank you both for having this outlet and then for inviting me along for the ride.
Oh, that made me emotional. I may yet cry this evening. Ari, any final thoughts from you?
Eat, drink, be merry, and yes, always listen to your music.
We love you, everyone. So we will be off next week because next week is Thanksgiving, but we will be back for episode 100 on December 1st. So be ready for that because we have things in store. So have a good night, everyone. Talk to you soon. Bye.